The man's cabinet was full of soap. Every time he washes his hands, he has to disassemble a new one and throw it away after using it once. He walked on the road and did not want anyone to touch him, nor did he want to step on a gap in the ground. However, in the restaurant there was a woman he did not reject. This was his appointed waiter. He was only willing to let her serve him. He also prepares disposable plastic cutlery for every meal. Go home and close the door to lock 5 1 2 3 4 1. Turn on the lights 5 times 1 2 3 4 1. Melvin is a writer with severe cleanliness and obsessive-compulsive disorder, and is also a single old man with a deep literary atmosphere. On this day, the neighbor was robbed and he had to take care of the neighbor's dog. Melvin, who originally hated dogs, said, "You have to starve," but still prepared a meal for it. But what surprised him was that the dog learned to walk Melvin, and would jump over the gaps in the ground. Now he fell completely in love with the dog, and it was from this moment that Melvin's fate began to change. Accompanied by dogs, he successfully completed his 60-second novel, but it wasn't long before a neighbor's friend said the dog owner would be back soon. Melvin was a little lost. After a few weeks together, the dog has become his family. The next day Simon returns, and the dog returns to its owner, but he has less enthusiasm and is not interested in the food he once loved. Melvin played the piano, tears welling up in his eyes. Looking at the items shed by the dog on the side, he laughed at himself. I actually shed tears for a dog. He arrives at the restaurant as usual, only to find that Carol, who serves him, has to quit her job because of her sick son. But without Carol, he couldn't eat at all, so he went directly to her house. Unsociable, he saw Carol directly say, "I'm hungry." But Carol felt that he was a neurotic. Hungry, and why did he come her home? Melvin was kicked out by her. She turned around to find her son with a high fever. Carol hurried to take him to the hospital, and happened to see Melvin, who was about to get into the car. Although she disliked him, she also had to take a ride, and ask him to help get the child to the hospital. You would never imagine that in order to make Carol serve him, he even forced the publishing house to help and hired a professional doctor for Carol. Carol, who did not know the truth, thought that his son was ill again, and the doctor explained to him that Melvin had called him to check the child. Carol is a single mom, who lives in a small apartment with her son and mother. Her son's asthma was always recurring, forcing her to stay by his side. It was hard to get a boyfriend, and it stopped there because of her family situation. In the process of talking to the doctor, she learned that the child's illness was likely to improve, and that all expenses incurred during this period would be borne by Melvin. Faced with this sudden good news, Carol was more uncomfortable. She lost sleep at night, and the favor of the annoying old man made her fidget. She braved the heavy rain to reach Melvin's house, asking him why he was helping her. It really stumped Melvin. Maybe it was purely for himself, or maybe it was something else. In short, he did not understand either. But Carol told him, "I'm thankful for everything you've done for me, but I'll never have anything to do with you." Melvin didn't say anything, just let her go to work as usual tomorrow. Simon went bankrupt after being robbed, but he was more concerned that his dog was estranged from him. And that's not the saddest. In order to keep his home, he had to borrow money from friends. But at such times, friends always have various reasons on the phone not to lend him money. Cornered, Simon quit his babysitter, and before leaving, he gave Melvin the keys in the hope that he could help walk the dog. Melvin didn't have a good relationship with Simon. At first, in order to teach the dogs who excrete everywhere, he even threw him down the garbage road. Simon quarreled with him, but he didn't win, so both of them are at feud with each other. Melvin, who was unclear about Simon's situation, taunted him for why he didn't have friends to help him. Simon is completely devastated. All the stress explodes at this moment. The house is to be repossessed, and no one lends him money. A friend suggested that he seek help from his parents, whom he never contacted, but he was reluctant to do so. His life fell apart completely. Melvin couldn't sleep in the middle of the night because of Carol. He approached Simon and brought him a cup of Chinese soup. Simon was a little surprised, but let him in anyway. Melvin said he had never been so distressed, and Simon's current situation made him aware of that feeling. Melvin, who got the talk, left Simon's house like this, and such a short conversation made Simon feel inexplicable. Carol kept writing thank you notes. Her mother wished she could take time out to hang out like a normal person, but she was worried about her son, and she had lost her life. But she also wants to have a normal life, and she is afraid that if she slacks off, she will get out of control. Finally, the mother and daughter still came out, and after so many years, they finally became normal people again. Simon's friends wanted Melvin to drive his convertible to Simon, to his hometown, to ask for help from his parents, because no one could help him at the moment, but Melvin refused. Their conversation is overheard by Carol, who complains that she envies his life, and for even a minute, no one gives her a convertible to get her out of the city. Hearing Carol's words, Melvin thought that this might be a good opportunity to get closer to Carol, so he agreed to Simon's friend's request. He called Carol again to ask her how her kid was doing. Faced with this person who always helped her, Carol took out the thank you letter, but Melvin didn't think it was necessary. But even if he didn't want to read it, Carol had to read it to him. Melvin changed her bad life. The thick letter was filled with gratitude to Melvin, the change in her family's life, and her apologies for what she had said that night. Melvin makes a request for Carol to help drive Simon to his parents. However, Carol, who has not gone out for many years, does not know how to pack her luggage, but Melvin is organizing his suitcases in an orderly manner. The next day, Carol joined the two, and because the rear space was too small, Melvin directly adjusted the seat to the front to leave her the most space. So the group of three set off. Halfway through, Carol stopped the car, and Simon told the story of what happened between him and his parents. Because of his sexual orientation, his mother worked as a model for him, but one day, his father found out about this, and Simon was beaten unconscious, and kicked him out of that family. Carol took pity on the wounded man in front of her. In the evening they rested in a hotel. Carol called home and learned that her son could play football. Carol excitedly kisses Simon and decides to dance with Melvin. But when they arrived at the restaurant, the manager asked him to wear a suit to enter. Melvin could only go to the clothing store and buy a new suit. Back at the restaurant, he complains to Carol about why men have to wear suits when you can wear a regular dress. Carol was not happy and got up to leave. Melvin asked her to stay, and she said yes. But you have to say something flattering to me. Melvin said, "You make me want to be a better man." As soon as this sentence was spoken, Carol fell in love instantly, and did not know what to say for a while. Melvin said this because of Carol's words last time, but it was precisely because of that sentence that Melvin, who was originally reluctant to take medicine to treat mental illness, began to take medicine. When Carol came to her senses, she felt that this was the best compliment of her life. She asked Melvin how well his medication worked, but it always upset him. Carol came to him and kissed Melvin affectionately. She asked him why he wanted to be with her, and she wanted Melvin to speak his mind, but he was not good at expressing it, saying that I thought you just felt that you owed me because of the child, and that you kissed Simon, but he didn't know that it was just a kiss between friends. Carol felt disappointed and turned to leave the restaurant. Simon called his mother to inform them in advance that he was coming, but the two did not answer. At this time, Carol returned angrily. When Simon prepares to go to bed, he finds Carol's perfect body and is instantly inspired, and he picks up the drawing board to draw her. Simon and Carol painted like this for an evening. When Melvin returned, he misunderstood what had happened to the two of them. Simon contacted his parents again. He decided not to dwell on the apartment anymore because he was now happy and had regained his love of painting. Melvin called Simon's friend and learned that Simon's apartment had been taken away, and the friend arranged for him a new apartment. The three began their return journey, but along the way, Carol kept her distance from Melvin, and when she got home, she was even more reluctant to let him send her home. Melvin was also at a loss. However, to Simon's surprise, the new apartment arranged turned out to be Melvin's family. The two rivals completely left behind all the previous unpleasantness at this moment. Carol returned home feeling good at home, and Melvin gave it all to her. She still couldn't help but call him, and Melvin was at a loss with excitement. Carol is very aware of her feelings. She can't deny the feeling of liking to be with him, but Melvin doesn't know how to express his feelings, which makes Carol seem very passive, and the best thing to do now is to draw a line between each other. Looking at Melvin, who was restless, fortunately, there was still a gay neighbor Simon to support Melvin, so he could go on firmly. But when he arrived at the door, he found that the door, which was always locked 5 times, was not locked this time. It may seem normal to Simon, but for Melvin, he overcame obsessive-compulsive disorder. Melvin asked Carol out, but as he walked, he deliberately bypassed the brick road that made him uncomfortable. Carol feels that even if we get along with each other like this, they can't change anything, because you are still you and I am still me. But no matter what, he was glad that Carol could come out to see him. This time, he praised the woman in front of him from the bottom of his heart. As a brilliant best-selling author, Melvin doesn't know how many sweet words he has written, and how many hearts of female readers have touched, but it is difficult to say a word in front of his beloved Carol. In his heart, those ridiculous compliments floating on the man's lips are just false confessions from the fantasy world, and in the face of true love, those can only mean blasphemy. Therefore, Melvin's simple words from the heart at the end of the film are even more touching. Melvin's heartfelt words filled Carol's heart. He hugged and kissed Carol with all his strength, and his single life was officially over, and he didn't realize that there were bricks under his feet. This concludes the film. Give roses and leave a lingering fragrance in your hands. The good deeds we inadvertently do, will make the person who is stuck in the trough feel warm. Melvin represents all those who put themselves in a cage, the so-called obsessive-compulsive disorder, which is, to put it bluntly, the problems that plague such people that cannot be escaped. They look weird and are always not understood. Taking the first step in socializing may be hard, but when you truly leave your old life and enter another world, you'll find it even better. And the problems that plague you will not disappear all at once, but they will disappear little by little by little. There is no commentary that can replace the original film. A good movie deserves to experience the full plot. I'm HKY Movies, and I look forward to my next encounter with you.